What is your view on Dabo Swinney and the success he's had at Clemson? Obviously, he had a part. Now listen to this wording. Obviously, he had a part in their 2 national championships. But I'm a believer that Venables, Deshaun Watson, and Trevor Lawrence are the only reason he's viewed as such a great coach. In my opinion, Clemson is on its way down. You know, a lot of things can be true here simultaneously. Now, I'm a believer that Clemson, along with Texas, is one of the 2 most interesting programs to watch in America this year, because the way you ended that statement, I don't know definitively yet. You say you think they're on the way down. We're going to go a long way in finding that out this year. But look, this entire premise of Dabo Swinney is only a product of the assistant coaches he surrounded himself with and the players that he recruited. Well, that's all any head coach is a product of. I don't know if you guys noticed this. Nick Saban wasn't racking up national championships at Michigan State. He didn't do it until he got to the South, and then he loaded up a coaching staff at LSU that was insane. Kirby's down there, Jimbo Fisher's down there, Kirk Ferentz is down there. All those future pro and college head coaches are down there. Muschamp's down there, and he locked down the state of Louisiana. When you got a bunch of Marcus Spears on your team, yeah, it makes you a whole lot more likely to win. So do we say it about any other coach is what I'm asking. Do we say that about Nick Saban? Like, when has Nick Saban won a national title where he didn't have a great staff and didn't have great players? So, yes, I mean, the fact of the matter is, sure, Dabo Swinney's a product of having really great players. And sure, he's a product of benefiting from really great coaches. Who implemented the culture that attracted all that? You know, because that's a head coach's ultimate job. An assistant coach's job is to coach. A head coach's job is to coach, but it's also to implement, it's to cast vision, it's to lead, it's to steer the ship. That's what he's doing. And he's done a really good job of it. You know, if his career were to end today, Dabo Swinney's a Hall of Famer. You know that, right? Dabo Swinney has won 2 national championships and resurrected a program in Clemson and took it to heights it has never before seen. And also, let's please not overlook this, who did he go through to win the national championships? He didn't do it like, you know, somebody maybe 100 years from now would think he did it. When you're looking back on the Bama dynasty, and it stretches from the late 2000s to whenever Nick Saban hangs him up, if someone else won a national championship in that time period, you'll think, oh, that must have happened when Bama had a down year. They went through Bama 2 times to do it. So they didn't have an easy path. I mean, the teams they were beating included Alabama en route to winning multiple national championships. No one else has done it. Did he do it with great players? Yeah. You wake me up when someone does it without great players. Did he do it with a great staff? Yeah, ditto. Wake me up when someone doesn't do it with a great staff. Now, here's the follow-up question, and here's what I wonder. The million-dollar question around Clemson is pertaining to what I think was part of the issue this past year. I just felt like they were stale. I've talked about this before. I felt like one of the problems that's been creeping up on Clemson, which I call a consequence of success, is a staleness that exists because you have it so right, you've got the formula so perfected in your mind that there's no need to bring anything else from the outside in. Dabo has rarely, if ever, gone to the portal. He does not go outside for hires. They promote from within. That's wonderful. That's indicative of a great culture, but here's the risk you run. The risk you run is you go from, being a body of water, because we only talk metaphors around here, with a bunch of rivers feeding into it. Therefore, you've got the main source of water, but there is freshness coming in from different directions. You go from that to just becoming stagnant. It's just a pond, and there is no fresh water flowing into it. Well, at Clemson, they've been isolated up there, and they've kept the internal for so long. Nothing new has really made its way into Clemson in quite a while. Well, when they had Venables leave to go to Oklahoma, and they had Tony Elliott leave to go to Virginia, you remember, if you were watching the show, I talked at great length about how I thought it was really a crossroad moment for Dabo. People overuse that a lot, but it was a true crossroad moment because I thought it was time for him to maybe buck a typical trend and go outside for hires. Well, they didn't. They promoted from within, a couple of guys who have never had coordinator experience, and he said he made the decision without too much forethought. He said, it took a few seconds for me to figure that out, I think was paraphrasing, but that was one of his loose quotes. He said, I knew what I was going to do immediately. Okay, look, guy knows his program and knows his personnel better than me. That's the million-dollar question for me, though. If they're on their way down, I think what I just talked about will end up being a contributing factor, more so than losing any one coach or more so than losing any one player. Because if you've got the culture right, you can attract new commodities in the way of players and coaches. And when I say commodity, Dabo Swinney's a commodity too. I'm a commodity here. We're all commodities to some extent. But one of them has to be the leader. Dabo's the leader. So, yeah, I don't know if they're on their way down, but it's one of the most interesting programs to watch this year because of those elements in play.